cheers to that, because Ousmane Dembele just won the Ballon d'Or, and I am so chuffed for a footballer. I'm not even gonna lie, guys. Whoever won it between him and Lamine Yamal, I think I would have been happy with. But when you look at Dembele's journey and you look at, the course of his career, I think a lot of people kind of wrote him off when he left Barcelona. It was kind of like the fear of the unknown. You didn't know what you were going to get with him when he went to Paris, but he went to Paris and he delivered. He delivered in the capital of France, not just a league title, but a Champions League title and a big important part to play in that run. We're going to talk about the Ballon d'Or. Of course, he's won it. Lamine Yamal second, Vitinha in third, which shocked me a little bit. Mohamed Salah in fourth, and Raphinha in fifth. That was probably the most shocking part for me. But Ousmane Dembele, the streets are eating. His speech, emotional. But Lamine Yamal, don't worry. Your time will come to finish second in a Ballon d'Or race at the age of 18 years old. Trust me, guys, I'm not worried about whether it will come around again for Lamine Yamal, because I definitely think it will. But for today, for now, Ousmane Dembele celebrates being the Ballon d'Or winner, and it's well deserved. 35 goals in all competitions, and people like to call the French league the Farmers League, but he dragged PSG through a rut in the Champions League, especially if you lot remember the early stages of the season for them. There was at times where there was questions about whether they would qualify. He then went on 14 goals and assists combined in the Champions League, and on top of that, in the knockout stages, coming up big against Liverpool, even in the group phase, big against Manchester City, big against Arsenal, and absolutely destroyed Inter in the final to have a goal. 7 out of 9 knockout games he had a goal contribution. That's a goal or an assist or both. 7 out of 9 knockout games. You gotta respect it. You really gotta respect it. And for me, I love stories like this in football, because with the Ballon d'Or, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I feel like it skewed a lot of people. Ronaldo and Messi winning it consistently and the levels at which they were playing at, I think skewed people's expectations of what exactly the Ballon d'Or is, in terms of, is it a statistic metric? Is it an accolades metric? What is it? But one thing I will say is Ronaldo and Messi, they are really one of one when it comes to their careers. We shouldn't anticipate and expect that all the time, where they're just dropping record-breaking numbers and winning a stupendous amount of consistent trophies. But Ousmane Dembele did that. Won the Champions League, won the Super Cup, won the French League, won the League Cup, won everything that he could have won with them, except for obviously the Club World Cup, where they lost to Chelsea in the final. But I don't think that diminishes what Ousmane Dembele and PSG have done in the last season. And I think it actually showed in the Ballon d'Or award ceremony today, when they had PSG picking up Team of the Year. You had Donnarumma picking up Goalkeeper of the Year, and of course Ousmane Dembele picking up the Best Player. Now, of course, in the past, like with the whole Rodri and Vinicius thing, and that for me is a shocking fall off, because of course Vinicius struggled with his injury woes last season. November, December, January coming back wasn't really as prolific as you expected it. For him to go from a second place podium finish to 16th, I mean, that shows you how much can change in a year. But I hope Ousmane Dembele's story also shows you how much can change in the course of 12 to 24 months. Because when he was playing at PSG before, it was Mbappe's team. And when Mbappe left, I know there was a lot of questions around what PSG would be like, who would be the main guy. But I think PSG have found the good balance, the best balance. Oh, by the way, Luis Enrique won Manager of the Year. I forgot to mention that. But I think they found the best balance under Luis Enrique of players, of profiles. They don't have anyone who I think overshadows anyone in the team. I think everyone has an equal part to play in their attack, but also we know who the main guy is, and that's Ousmane Dembele. I've never seen a player like him, especially last season, what he was doing, playing across the right, the left, through the middle as a false nine, and his ability to play in the false nine. His performance in the Champions League final, I think, is overshadowed because of the scoreline, the 5-0 battering against Inter Milan. But I think people don't really actually pay attention to his performance in the Champions League final as that false nine, his ability to play it so well, especially as a guy who, you would have had him down in the past as maybe a more traditional and a more natural touchline winger on the far right, Being able to run at your man, and his two-footedness is another attribute he excels at. But I think he's tweaked his game a little bit. He plays a lot smarter, and I think we've seen that in the last, definitely in the last 7, 8, 9 months with PSG. I think post December times something switched in PSG, and then they added Kvaratskhelia, and that just took them to the moon, and it took them to their first Champions League win. But also, it took Ousmane Dembele to the Ballon d'Or. And like I said, for me, it's well-deserved. We can talk about the stats. If you're talking about the stats, what probably shocks me the most, and we have to talk about Barcelona, is for me, Raphinha's finish. Raphinha's finish for a player who, in my opinion, I made a short last year, September time, around this time last year, maybe October. And I was talking about Raphinha because he was so good even at the beginning of the season. I think Raphinha was a player that was consistently good throughout the course of the season, and he carried a big weight of Barcelona's goals, 34 goals in all competitions, 25 assists. I think he has one of the most GAs in terms of the people that finished in the top 5 in the Ballon d'Or. I think he's actually one goal contribution higher than Mohamed Salah, who finished in 4th, and he finished in 5th, and I'm shocked by that. I don't know, maybe like I said, the Ballon d'Or, the measuring metrics, and the levels of which people are judged at, it changes depending on the player. But for me, Raphinha should have been higher, especially because of the course of consistency that he done. But I think one person that has everybody split on argument, because coming into it, I said whoever wins, if it's between Yamal and Dembele, I said I'm happy whoever wins, but I'm happy if Dembele wins. If Yamal wins, I think it's quite early for him to win it, but I have no doubt in my mind that Lamine Yamal will go on to win a trophy, the Ballon d'Or trophy, at some point in his career. He picked up the Under-21 Player of the Year second time, and then finishing second in the Ballon d'Or race at the age of 18 is just stupendous, guys, honestly. And like I said, no doubt he's gonna become a Ballon d'Or winner, and he might become a multiple Ballon d'Or winner. 80. I think the argument a lot of people had about Lamine Yamal is the number of goals he's obviously scored in the league. But the way that I look at Lamine Yamal is, I don't look at him as this prolific goal scorer like Raphinha or like Lewandowski or even other goal scorers that they had last season. I see him as a creator, but I also see him as a guy that can score. We know he can score 9 goals in the league. People are arguing, is that a goal tally that should deserve you a top 3 finish in the Ballon d'Or? Well, I think the Ballon d'Or, first and foremost, it's not purely statistic based, and it's not purely based on how many goals you score in the league. Because if that was the case, Victor Gyökeres, who won Striker of the Year or Forward of the Year, the Muller Trophy of the Year, if that was the case, Victor Gyökeres would have had a top 3 podium finish if it was purely about the goals that you score in the league that you play. Simple as that. Victor Gyökeres, who has scored a ridiculous number of goals last season for Sporting before he joined Arsenal, he would have had a top 3 podium finish on the Ballon d'Or, but he didn't, because it's not specifically only about the goals that you score. 15 assists in La Liga, 9 goals, that's a 24 goal contribution in about 35 games that he played for Barcelona, which I think is a decent return for a player of his calibre, in terms of how young he is and how he's still developing and still becoming an outlet in the team. But also, I never thought last season he was the main guy in his team, which is why I'm shocked where Raphinha has finished in the Ballon d'Or race. But that's my first point. The second point is, overall, I think 18 goals and 25 assists, to have 25 assists in all competition, I think is great, especially for his age. It just shows you that he is a creator. He can create chances for his teammates as well as for himself. Another thing that shocked me, 2 things that shocked me, and it's outside of the top 10 conversation, was Pedri and Harry Kane finishing outside of the top 10. Honestly speaking, I think I look at today's Ballon d'Or rankings, and I think the only thing that I can say, that's right, is probably Dembele 1, Yamal 2. Everything else, in terms of 3, 4, 5, I'm looking at it thinking, I think that could be the wrong way around. I mean, no one's talking about Mohamed Salah. No one is talking about Mohamed Salah. I think maybe because I think he peaked quite early last season, and then he had a little dip in terms of numbers, but he still put up record-breaking numbers: 29 goals, 18 assists in the league alone. in the league alone. So that's what I'm saying. If we were to be going off of goals scored in the league, if I'm not wrong, Mohamed Salah has scored the most out of all of them. Mohamed Salah has scored the most out of all of the people in the top 5 podium finish for the Ballon d'Or race. But the Ballon d'Or is not specifically only based on that. But 34 goals, 23 assists across all competition. I think the Champions League run that Liverpool had was slightly underwhelming. Of course, they got knocked out by PSG, who went on to win it. But I also think his involvement in the Champions League was slightly underwhelming. But in terms of individual accolades, you know, if you talk about the individual stuff that Mohamed Salah has won last season compared to the other people in this podium finish, he's won the top goal scorer of the league. He won the top playmaker of the league. He won the PFA player of the season. He won the FWA player of the year. And of course, he won the Premier League as well with Liverpool. So I don't think there's as much outrage about Mohamed Salah finishing in 4th as maybe there should be. But also, I think there's a lot of players that we can talk about that should have finished up higher. Like I said, Pedri, Elise finishing 30th. You're telling me there's 29 players better than Elise in football last season? I'm not having it. But Pedri as well, even Virgil van Dijk, even the likes of Harry Kane, for me, one of the best strikers in Europe last season, finishing outside of that, helping Bayern to a trophy after they didn't win it the year before that, winning his first silverware as well. I think he was left out of a conversation. The entire top 10, I think there's a bit of recency bias as well when it comes to the Ballon d'Or nominations. I think because people tend to forget about the earlier stages of the season and they only really remember the latter stages. I think, the teams that win the UCL and the teams that maybe win an international trophy, if it's at the time of an international trophy, I think they are the players that tend to be in the conversation. That is why Hakimi and Nuno Mendes and they were all in there. But shout out to Cole Palmer finishing 8th as well for a team that didn't win anything major outside of the Club World Cup. Of course, just because we didn't think that the Club World Cup was a major trophy doesn't mean that the people judging aren't going to base that as a major trophy as well. And he's an integral part. The Ballon d'Or sometimes reminds me of MVP in the NBA, the regular season MVP, because there's always conversations about the MVP and what is it based on? Is it based on the best player on the league? Is it based on the most important player for their team and someone that's dragging their team through the mud? What is it based on? And I think with Ballon d'Or, we know there's 3 things that it's based on. It's based on, your individual stats. It's based on your team performance, i.e. the awards, the trophies that they win. And also third is based on sportsmanship. But Ousmane Dembele deserves it. He deserves it. This is a win for football, can I just say. Ousmane Dembele winning it. Even if Yamal had won it, don't get me wrong, it would have been a win. But Yamal's time is coming. It's coming. And I actually think Lamine Yamal will be one of the few players of recent years that will probably win back-to-back Ballon d'Ors. I think Kylian Mbappe's time is coming as well. He's another player that finished in the top 10. But Ousmane Dembele winning the Ballon d'Or, it's a win for football. It's a win for football. And I'm very excited to see where this goes. Because for me, I'm not going to lie, watching Ousmane Dembele, especially when he was at Dortmund, even when he was at Rennes and he went off to Dortmund and then he went to Barcelona. His time at Barcelona, he mentioned it, how he thanked Barcelona in his speech and he thanked his mom and his family. A very emotional speech for those of you that speak French if you watched it. He spoke about his time at Barcelona and said he learned so much from Messi and he thanked Messi in his speech as well. And I think when he left Barcelona, a lot of people counted him out. A lot of people counted him out. A lot of people questioned his commitment to football. A lot of people tried to put him in this box and he didn't allow that to happen. He broke out of that box. He got his head stuck into the game and he dragged PSG to destiny, to something that they have never achieved. And for that, I think he will forever be in their history books. He's probably going to go on next season and maybe even win a World Cup with France. You never even know. But I'm so happy for Ousmane Dembele across the board. Statistically, if you want to talk about the eye test, whatever you want to talk about, I think he's earned it. I think he's earned it. And I think Lamine Yamal coming second is just a testament to where he's going to be. Because not so long ago, he was finishing 8th. When he was, 17, 16? And now he's finishing second. He might win the Ballon d'Or as a teenager. Lamine Yamal could win the Ballon d'Or next year. But I'm shocked at Raphinha's finishing spot. I'm shocked at Mohamed Salah. Vitinha, I think, deserved to be in the top 5. But it's just, for me, the question of where he should have been. Pedri omitted from top 10. Harry Kane omitted from top 10. Elise at 30th. Those are the questionable stuff. But let me know how you guys feel about Ousmane Dembele winning. Well deserved. Lamine Yamal, your time is up next. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe as well if you are new here.